Well, good morning, everyone. Hopefully everyone had a great time in Ottawa. I had lots of successful meetings with folks down there. I know there was quite a contingent from Lambton County that had gone down, and a number of meetings were held. So good luck, and hopefully things work out to the betterment. And because as one of us goes higher, all of us go higher. I think a rising tide raises all boats. So the prosperity that anything coming from other levels of government brings to our community are tremendous. So I'll call this meeting to order, and I'll ask any members of committee to declare pecuniary interest at the appropriate time. First piece of business to do is our Infrastructure and Development Services Division. There is 4 information reports. Could I have a mover and seconder to receive those reports? Moved by Councillor Stark, seconded by Councillor Napper. Any questions in regards to any of those? Councillor Loosley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just in regards to the Mr. Cole or Mrs. Nata regarding building permits, and I know there's been a home in Petrolia on Queen Street that's been running for 5 years. I guess my question is, do you have to get a building permit once a year?
Mr. Cole, can you answer that, please, sir?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think Corinne can speak to that today. Thanks.
Good morning, everyone. Through you, Mayor Arnold, Councillor Arnold. That permit in particular, every 6 months, a building inspection has to be completed for a permit to remain valid. For that specific property, it has been monitored and they have met the 6-month deadlines. Unfortunately, when with our pandemic, that slowed a lot of construction due to materials. And previous to that, it was a slow start for that individual, but they are making progress, and the progress has sped up in the last 6 months as well. I'm happy to report.
Follow up?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm pleased to hear that, but I mean, this all started when we allowed that hole to be built too big, which caused damage to the neighbor. But I'd just like to see this thing come to an end if possible. I know there's been written complaints.
Go ahead, Ms. Nata.
Thank you. That home was built within 100% compliance of the zoning bylaw, and there was no minor variances required for that property to be built to that lot coverage and that height. They're at the maximums, but that was in the current zoning. There was no extra permissions provided.
I guess my concern, Mr. Chairman, is the fence from the neighbor fell in, as well as it came within less than a meter of the foundation of that property. But again, I would just like to see this resolved if possible. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Any other questions in regards to those reports? Seeing none, all those in favor of receiving them as information? That be carried. Next we have is 2 reports requiring a motion. And the first one is an updated appointments bylaw for the inspectors, the building inspectors. Could I have a mover and seconder for that? Councillor Stark and Councillor Weber. Any questions in regards to that recommendation? Councillor Stark, go ahead, sir.
Only a comment, and that is with respect to that appointment. My understanding is that the appointment is specific to that individual as opposed to being a blanket designation. Is that correct?
In what regard?
Well, the report talks about a particular individual, and then late in the report it says that the designation is only applicable to that one individual. My question is this a typical requirement for every person that's being appointed, or what's the situation?
Mr. Cole?
Yeah, I see Corinne's popped up. I think I can just speak to that, though, that, yeah, absolutely, that's the standard practice, is we need to appoint the specific individual as the bylaw officer. So we go through this every time we change employees, that a new bylaw comes forward and they can't act on their own as bylaw officers until they are appointed.
Thank you.
All in favor? That be carried. And then we also actually have the updated appointments bylaw for all the inspectors in the attachment. Might as well get a mover and seconder for that as well. Councillor Stark and Warden Marriott. Any questions? All in favor? That be carried. Is there any other business in regards to this grouping? Councillor Stark, go ahead.
I have a question, a general question, but it might fall under under new business, or other business, if we're at that point. My question relates to official plan reviews. The county is required to approve all official plan amendments, but also official plan updates. In Sarnia, I can speak to, I was the chairman of the Growth Management Committee for the City of Sarnia as it related to the official plan amendment. The growth management boundaries were subject to a considerable amount of debate. The ultimate recommendation or approval that came out of the City of Sarnia was contrary to what the staff and what the consultants had recommended, substantially different. That being the case, and that of course was approved by the City of Sarnia Council, subject to the approval of the County of Lambton and the Province of Ontario. My question is, what formal process does the official plans of each of the lower tiers, how does it come to County Council? What information is brought to County Council? And how complete a review of that process is given to County Council so that their approval or disapproval is based upon a comprehensive understanding of what the issues are. The reason that I bring this up is this is such a substantial change from what the staff and what the consultants have recommended, that one might question whether or not the County of Lambton and or the Province of Ontario would approve such a massive recommendation. I know that Bill 109 through the province is looking to build new and more homes, but the question becomes, is it, and quite frankly, the Premier in his speech on Tuesday indicated that they are looking to build more attainable homes. I noticed that the word or affordable was not included in his speech. And to that end, I would like to understand where the County of Lambton will be gleaning the information leading up to the decision, and what will the process be in terms of approvals for the County of Lambton vis-a-vis the City of Sarnia's official plan. Thank
you, Councillor. Mr. Cole, can you or one of your folks make an answer for that? Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Councillor Stark. I'm just looking over at Stefan and see, would you like me to direct that to Ken or yourself, Steph? I think Ken can probably speak to it if you would like them to.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Cole. Mr. Melanson can address the question, but surely we're aware of those materials coming up to County Council, and Mr. Melanson will have a plan, a path forward for you, I'm sure, in his response.
Mr. Melanson, can you take that question, please, sir?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning to you, members of committee. Through you to Councillor Stark. Under the current process that is defined here at the county, decisions to approve or to approve with alterations are delegated to staff under a bylaw that was passed by council, and I'm blanking on the year, so Mr. Tifo might know the year, but it was some time ago. The county council only gets involved in an official plan amendment or approval of a new official plan when the recommendation of staff is to not approve the plan in its entirety. And that recommendation would come up to county council as a report direct to the whole of county council for their consideration. And then they would make the decision. I will say that the province is actively monitoring the fact that the Sarnia official plan is coming to the county. And I should say that we do have it as of, I believe, Thursday. So there is a timeline within the Planning Act of 120 days for us to render a decision. And I'm sorry, Councillor Stark, I don't remember the other parts of your question. I think there were a few I might have missed.
Councillor Stark, does that answer what you're looking for?
It does not.
Okay.
Although it identifies the delegation of the responsibility to staff, I believe that this is such a monumental shift away from the city staff and from the consulting staff that this warrants bringing it to the Lambton County Council. Now, I'm not prejudging what the county staff will be recommending. What I'm saying is that I personally, after the decision was rendered by the City of Sarnia Council, I personally have been approached, contacted by several members of the community stating that this is not acceptable. And I have assured them that I would be voting against approval of the City of Sarnia official plan as it is presented. The only way that I can do that is if it comes before County Council. So Mr. Melanson indicates that that responsibility has been delegated to staff. That's not going to cut it as far as this particular issue, and for the people that are wanting to register their complaints, which ultimately will go to the province for final approval. But before it gets to that point, there should be a way for county council to lean into these decisions. I noticed in today's agenda that there are several committee of adjustments, there are several official plan amendments that are being reported to us through this committee. The question then is how, using them as an example, how would they get to the floor of county council unless an individual brings it to the floor and ultimately a discussion and resulting vote should a resolution be brought forward. So it is the process that I'm really questioning, and it's potentially, I guess, the delegation of the responsibility to staff. In this particular case, I do not think that's appropriate.
Okay. So where do you want to go from here, Councillor?
I want to make sure that this discussion lands on the floor of County Council. And if it's this committee that needs to recommend that, then I'm prepared to do that. Although I don't want to prejudge what the county staff are going to come up with, because potentially it could end up on the floor of County Council anyway, if our staff here at the county object to what the City of Sarnia's council has done, which I'm hoping they will.
Okay. So we just kind of let it slide for now? Is that what you're saying?
I don't want to let it slide. What I want to do is raise a flag that this needs to be dealt with and not leave it to the normal process of finding its way through the system and I being responsible to catch it. What I'm saying is staff should be aware that this is an important issue that should find its way to the council floor.
I'm not sure what the process would be. Stefan, can you add a little light on this for me, please?
Yes, thank you, Chair Arnold. So in direct response to Councillor Stark's comments, staff is fully, completely, acutely aware of the issues. And with Mr. Melancon's group reviewing it, the process is as stated, which the one avenue is per delegation and per the Planning Act. If there's approval in whole of the official plan amendments, then staff can do so because it's compliant with the county OP and provincial policy statements. But if staff is not in a position to approve, then it does come back for county council, council's decision. But that being said, in terms of the procedure, so it's flagged, it's an issue that we're fully cognizant of. There's a period of time that Mr. Melancon's group has to respond to it. But if this council, or if Councillor Stark wish to amend the procedure to bring the matter to county council, regardless of the current path that it can take, I would suggest that the best way to do that is to issue a notice of motion for the matter to be debated before all of council. And that would be compliant with the requirements to put these matters on the agenda. And once they're on the agenda, formally on the agenda, then county council and its committees can then, at that point in time, deal with them substantively. But that being said, I guess what we're saying is that we're quite aware of the issues.
Councillor Stark?
So just so I'm clear, a notice of motion would be presented at the September meeting, but then, because of the election, would not be dealt with until the new council comes forward.
Go ahead, Mr. Tifo.
Yes, thank you. Correct. We would have a September 7th meeting, and then we have an October, I forget what it is, 2nd or 3rd meeting, and then we have the general election on October 24th, and then that gets back into the November meeting, which I believe is November 7th, and then we get into new council.
Go ahead.
Both from with respect to the September and the October meeting, are we not a lame duck council?
Go ahead, Mr. Tifo.
Thank you. As of today, I don't believe we are a lame duck. So the first period to review your lame duck your status is really tomorrow. Once we know who's filed their nominations, then we'll be in a better position to assess whether there's a lame duck. And then, of course, I'm assuming we're not going to be, based on what I'm seeing already, but there's no guarantee of that. And then the next period for assessing lame duck status is October 24th, following the election. But even in the lame duck status, and I may be corrected here, but I'm, let's say, 97% sure that even if you are in lame duck status, I don't believe that lame duck provisions, strictly speaking, legally, would prohibit council from dealing with these issues. But of course, from a political perspective, if council says, hey, look, if we are in lame duck, then politically council can decide which way to move forward. Now, that being said, as Mr. Melanson noted, there is a time period that applies to process these files, and one way or another needs to be processed in that time period. And Mr. Melanson, Mr. Cole, we've discussed this already. We know that time is of the essence.
Go ahead, Councillor.
Yeah, I'm uncomfortable with that answer, but only based upon timing. And I'll use myself as the example. I'm running for re-election, which puts me in the non-lame duck situation. However, I'm asking councillors to make decisions that potentially they would have no follow-up as it relates to the new session. And theoretically, I could be very easily defeated, which would put me into a situation where I'm commenting on items that really I have no future impact on. So it's a very uncomfortable scenario to be in. However, if there is no, we can't do anything about the timing, the timing is the timing. The 120 days is what it is. So I guess from my perspective, I will file a notice of motion formally, well, informally today, and I will leave it to the clerk to identify how I go about that in a more explicit manner. Thank you.
I think, Councillor, that's probably the best solution at this point, and then we'll go forward from there. Councillor Napper.
Yes, I was just listening to this with quite a bit of interest here. And my question to Mr. Melanson, how is this any different than what we had to go through here in Lambton, Wyoming? It just seems to me it's deja vu all over again. And do each municipality get a chance to oppose this at some time or other? Because I know when we went through it, the city, what they're asking for today is basically what they opposed us next door, Mr. Melton can remember that, but I just don't understand all this, how the process works. Like the city had standing in our hearings and things, so like, aren't we all treated equally?
Mr. Melanson, can you address Councillor Napper's question, please?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you to Councillor Napper. There is I'll call it deja vu light. There's a little bit of nuance to things. So the debate that you're referring to in terms of land supply occurred related to the county official plan. So that was the plan that applies from the county down to our municipal partners. What Councillor Stark is referring to is a new official plan being done for their city, which is applicable obviously just to the city of Sarnia. What Lambton, Wyoming and Point Edward and Warwick did was a 5-year update. So they retained their official plan, but simply gave it a refresh, updated it to be in compliance and conformance to the most recent version of the provincial policy statement, and any changes to the county official plan that took place that those local plans were not in alignment with. What Sarnia did is they've basically decided our old plan, or the one that is still in effect right now, we're going to move away from. We're going to write a whole new one. And that's what's come up to the county for consideration of approval. Whereas the 3 plans that we did for your municipalities, we're simply taking your plan and just updating it. But I hope that answers your question.
No, it don't, but does this not take in your supply of housing and all that stuff, and taking farmland out, and you have to go through all that stuff too, like we did?
So through you, Mr. Chairman, to Councillor Napper, that the updates that we did to the 3 official plans didn't update any of the land supply numbers through the county plan. They were simply updating legislation to be in conformance. So it was what planners call a conformance exercise.
Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Stark.
Yes, I want to be clear on how this official plan got to the county. I voted at the city of Sarnia to advance it to the county level. Prior to voting for the advancement, I voted against the growth management expansion. So before anybody misinterprets what my votes were, which tends to be a habit with some members of city council, my vote was to advance the official plan to the county level and subsequently then to the province. I intend on opposing the official plan amendment of the city at the county level when I look at the entire county from the entire county perspective. So while I'm not prejudging what the county staff will come up with, I am giving notice that I want this topic to be debated via my notice of motion. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right. Any other business for this committee, or this portion of the committee? I'll move on then to Public Health Services Division, and we have 5 items of correspondence. and that's A to E. I'll ask for a motion to receive that as information. Councillor Weber and Deputy Warden Hand. All in favor of receiving that as all as information? That be carried. Is there anyone that would like to take any of those out and make a specific motion in regards to them? Seeing none, thank you much. The next one is there's an information report in regards to monkeypox. Could I have a mover and second to receive that as information, please? Moved by the warden and seconded by Councillor Stark. Any questions in regards to that report? Seeing none, all those in favor of receiving that report? That be carried. There is no Emergency Medical Services Department piece for the agenda. There's nothing new there, I guess. The other thing, the last piece in regards to this one is other business. Does anyone have any other business in regards to this portion of the committee? Seeing none, we'll move on to the Cultural Services Division. And there are two information reports. Could I have a mover and seconder for those? Councillor Loosely and Deputy Warden Hand. Any questions in regards to those? We'll receive those as information then. All in favor? That be carried. Now we do have 1, 2, 3 reports requiring a motion, and we'll do those individually. First one is item A, and it's a report dated August 18th regarding increasing security at Sarnia Library. And there is a recommendation here, Council. So what I'd like to have is a motion to receive this report as information. And can I include in there the recommendation, Councillor? And we'll include the recommendation with that motion. So moved by Councillor Stark. Do I have a seconder for that? Warden Marriott, thank you. Any questions or comments in regards to that motion? Councillor Stark, go ahead, sir.
Yes, this is an area that I think needs careful understanding of, and that is that our staff are being put into a position where they are literally social services directors, they're police, this is a dangerous situation. And as much as I hate to admit the fact that our homeless situation has now found itself in the neighborhood of the library, the reality is that, in fact, our homeless are finding shelter in and around the library. I don't have a solution to that. I don't think any of us have a solution to that. But the reality is our staff are in a situation where they're being compromised in terms of their safety. And this is one area that I don't think we can be shy about spending money on, even given the fact that the library staff have said that they can absorb this through their current budget. The reality is that on an ongoing basis, this needs to be looked at as a budgetary item, which I'm presuming Mr. Meyer is aware of and is planning for in terms of his budget submissions. If not, I would suggest that he should be doing that. And I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other comments or questions? All in favor of the motion? Opposed? That motion is carried. Thank you. The next report we have is in regards to library's donations, June 1st or April 1st to June 30th report. Can I have a mover and seconder for those? Moved by Councillor Napper, second by Councillor Weber. Questions? All in favor? That be carried. And the last motion needed is a report dated August 18th regarding museums, gallery, and archives collections management, May and June. And there's a recommendation there. Could I have a mover and seconder to receive that as information and also the recommendation? Councillor Weber and Councillor Stark. Thank you. Any questions? All in favor? That be carried. And the next piece we have, is there any other business to come in regards to the Cultural Service Division at this time? Ms. Myers, do you have an item for us?
Yes, one other item. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just to update the committee, and invitation will go out to all of council as well, that coming up starting on September 2nd, we have our annual Paint Ontario exhibition and sale at the Lambton Heritage Museum, and that will run through until September 25th. The gallery, as you know, is currently under renovation, but we've completed the temporary exhibition space just in time for Paint Ontario. So we look forward to welcoming you back into that space, and we'll put a notice out through email to county councillors. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else have any other business to come forward at this time? I do have one thing, members of the committee, and that's on September the 3rd, that the Lambton Plowmans are going to hold the Lambton County Plowing Match. And that's dinner is going to be in St. Clair Township, of course, in Brigden this year, which we're very fortunate to have, and that's September the 3rd. And just to let everybody know, this is their 100th anniversary of the Lambton Plowmans. That's quite a feat for any organization, but it promotes excellence in agriculture, of course, and if anybody ever came behind me on a plowed field that I did, they wouldn't think that I would have much excellence in agriculture, but many do. And I've been able to watch them over the years and have enjoyed it very much. So that's September the 3rd, and it's out along, I believe it's Rokeby Line is where that's going to be. And anyways, that's the only thing I had in other business. There are no in-camera items, and unless there's anything else, I am open for motion to adjourn. Councillor Weber and Warden Marion, all in favor? That be carried. Thank you very much, folks.
A wonderful day, everyone.